as we get started today, before we jump into our exciting and really fun and engaging content teardown, we're going to start with an icebreaker question for Bernard and Crystal. So let's start with a bold prediction. In one word, where do you see the future of SEO heading in 2025? So we'll start with Crystal.
So my one word for that is smarter. I think that SEO historically, and for like certainly when I started doing SEO, there was a lot of manual stuff involved in SEO. You had to update lots of title tags, you had to do lots of things, and then we sort of started getting more automation so that you could set, maybe Python or like programmatic things or things like that. But I think that also we're going to start seeing people doing a lot of their SEO tasks and getting through their SEO tasks much more efficiently, and having, one of the things, and not to jump in too quickly, but one of the things that we really champion over at Wix Studio is trying to make sure that we have those things built in. So like we built in structured data into the CMS. We built in like title tag optimization into like when every time anybody uploads a blog, you have your keyword. We will tell you whether it's here, 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 or here. And I think that sometimes people say, "Oh, I worked really hard on that thing." And I keep telling people, and it's really been a mantra, or like, I don't know, it's not very succinct, but one thing I've been thinking about is that working hard isn't enough. Like if I was to cut a log with a butter knife, I would be working really, really hard, like really hard. But that's not smart, right? That's not the way to do it. It'd be way quicker to use a buzz saw, to use a diamond chip saw, whatever. There's way quicker ways to do it. Just because you're working hard, it's not enough. And I'm so sorry to everybody who's working really hard and not seeing results, but it's not enough. You have to work smarter as well. And I think that people with all of the AI tools that we have, and with all of the automation tools that we have, and the combination of AI and automation, people are able to move smarter much quicker than they were previously. And I think that that's where we're going to start seeing real big gaps between competitors is people who are working super smart.
That's very well said, right? I completely agree. Just there's so many tools, so much things that are like fast quantity. And I think, yeah, I will add my one word. My one word actually comes from a conversation, I think way back when we had Barry Schwartz on. And I think we were talking about the new E at the time, the experience part that, Google had tacked on to EEAT. And then Barry Schwartz said something along the lines of like, no, it's like, it should be E for entertaining. And so the one word I will pitch in is entertaining. And I think that we're going to see, yeah, kind of this like switch towards content that is entertaining, like content that people want to read. And with all the DOJ case stuff and everything going on with Chrome being used to basically monitor all of our interactions, or that's the going theory. I think that Google is going to get pretty darn good at understanding whether or not content is well engaging. But I think entertaining is like a nice flavor that's like one step above like engaging. It's like, yeah, it's generally entertaining content is engaging.
I think that really speaks to like the need to sort of diversify channels. And I think that when you think about like LinkedIn recently added video as like a part of their feed, for instance. So like when you log onto the app, there's add a post, and right next to it is video, and they've got loads of videos. And in order to cut through a lot of the noise across all different channels, both Google and organic channels, and also social media, having that entertaining factor, that engagement factor as like a top priority is super important.
Well, that is good stuff to start off this content teardown with. Before we jump into the sites, I would just like to say, first off, we'll probably get to about 3 to 4 sites today. We had a lot of submissions. Thank you all so much. If we don't get yours today, get to yours today. We will keep it on hand for any future teardowns if that's okay with you. We just kind of keep that information, and if we need more examples in the future, we'll pull back into those. But I am happy to introduce you to, if you don't know her already, Crystal Carter. She is the head of SEO communications at Wix, and she is an SEO and digital marketing professional with over 15 years experience working in SEO and marketing clients around the world, including Disney, McDonald's, Tommy, and more. So like a lot of giants. She's been working with a lot of giants for a long time. So she knows her stuff. And if you don't know Bernard already, he is the co-founder of Clearscope. He's also my boss. And the leading SEO, we believe, of course, that we are the leading SEO optimization software for high quality content teams. And I will say I was in love with Clearscope before I ever joined the team. So before Clearscope, Bernard, my sales pitch before we move into actionable education. And yeah, not a non-promo-y webinar, but before Clearscope, Bernard started an SEO consulting agency. He was a growth advisor, lots of experience in helping companies grow their SEO and content strategies. So we're so happy that you're all here today. And let's get started. So if Crystal, if you want to go ahead and share your screen, we'll jump in. And just to remind everyone, this is a friendly professional content teardown. She'll share her screen, but we're not sharing names of like the people who worked on the strategy. We're just sharing the sites that were submitted, and we'll walk through them and all learn together today. So yeah.
Cool. Thank you for that fantastic introduction. I should also say that I first met Bernard at MozCon, so we're like MozCon friends as well. So it's great to get the band back together, as it were. So yeah, super happy to be here. One of the first websites that we had submitted was one for Fordham Law. And this is Fordham University, and they have a law school, and this is the website that they submitted. So this is fordham.edu /school -law. And as we go through here, I think what I can see is that, this is a good, well laid out website. And anybody who's looked at university websites will know that this is actually pretty good for in terms of modernity for university websites, because they vary significantly. So I think they're doing really great here. In terms of like how I like to like assess a web page, one of the things that I use really often is this tool, the SEO Pro extension from Christina Azarenko. It's free and it works really well alongside your other tools. So a tool like Clearscope will give you a whole like website, full audit of like lots of things that are going on. This one is really useful if you're looking at a single page. I'm just going to reload it here. And so I'm going to share this throughout. Can you see that panel? Is that right? Can I just get a nod? Great, wonderful. So when I look through this, I'm going to see a couple of. So one thing that I'll check, like the canonical doesn't seem to be declared. That's something that can be useful. Just to make sure that particularly on a university website, you're going to have a lot. You're probably going to have a lot of pages. So I looked up fordham.edu. There's 11,000 pages. That's a fair amount. If I look up the School of Law, and you'll notice I'm using the site modifier here. I can see there's like 1,700 results. So Google seems to be understanding that this is the main page of that, like the top page of that. But it's worth thinking about like making sure that your canonicals are sorted out and things like that. Now, if you're looking at something that is sometimes for big sites like this, and sometimes for university sites, which tend to be quite old, because universities were some of the first folks to get on the internet. So university websites will sometimes be like 20 years old and have 20 years of like legacy content, et cetera, et cetera. Sometimes it's, you don't always have access to things like the canonical tags, but if you do, it's worth making sure that you're doing that, because it'll help Google to sort through all of that sort of stuff, especially for a legacy website, which might have another iteration of that particular page, like somewhere in Google's thingamajig, et cetera. It's a little bit technical, but don't worry about it. The other thing I noticed when I went through this was like, good, we've only got one H1, that's great. So that's useful. I always check that. And then we've got links. So links, we've got some good links there, and that's good. In terms of like content, I would say that what we've got here, let me see, what was the H1 on this again? So this is School of Law. What we've got here is you got in says lead in the law in New York City. Personally, while I think that's a great mission statement, my general approach to SEO is to do what it says on the tin. Like I would say like, you know, law school in New York City, like leading law school in New York City. I'm very much somebody who's like, just say what it is, because it helps people to understand whether this is a law firm or whether this is, you know, or whether this is a, whether this is a law school. And this is law in the service of others. And again, this kind of makes you think like, is this a law service? And I know that it says it's university, but sometimes it can be confusing if people can't always see the top of the URL while they're scrolling, particularly on mobile. So that's something that I would think about. Again, another one is this. So this heading here, in terms of headings, I'm again another fan of like say what it is. So I would also say Fordham Law School News instead of saying law school news. I had a law client in particular who all across their website had I, us, our, we, our law firm all over the place. And I'm like, just say your name. Just say your name. Just say your name. Because what I find sometimes is that people will be like, oh, my website's not listed on Google. And then I do the search modifier and I check the site and it says, and I say, yeah, your site is on Google. And they say, why? And I'm like, why do you think it is? And they say, because I Google my name and I can't find it. And I'm like, yeah, because you haven't put your name on the website. And they haven't done that here. But I think it's really important that you make sure that, like, you know, you're saying Fordham Law School a reasonable amount of times, not a million times, but like this is a perfect place to put it, for instance. So, and you know, this is a sort of landing page sort of thing. So I think of that. Now, when I had a look at the sort of pages that are ranking across the site, you can see that it's, you know, this will give you an idea of some of the ones that Google's prioritizing in terms of their crawl and in terms of that sort of thing. When I looked at some of the traffic data, I could see that, you know, the pages that seem to be getting a lot of traffic are pages to do with admissions and getting into the school, which is presumably the goal, right? So this page, for instance, JD admissions, was getting a lot of traffic, and you know, engage with them, apply at Fordham, that sort of thing. What I would also think though is that on a page like this, it might be worth putting those things higher up. So this is something that's like, whoever's coming to this law school, yes, they want to lead in the law in the New York City, but they probably want to apply. And then here we have explore life at Fordham, and this is going to like general life at Fordham. That's a little bit of a lower sort of, you know, that's a sort of more top of the funnel sort of thing. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have you know, consideration content high, like you know, visible on the page, but it's useful to have the apply button really easy to find. Like really easy to find. So I've had to go all the way down here to find the degree programs. If I was to optimize this page, I'd move this further up, because even if somebody goes, all right, I'll apply to it later, they know where it is, right? Right? They know where it is. They know if they scroll back to the top of the page, they'll be able to find it. And this for this particular type of organization, these pages are like what we call the money pages. So it's worth putting those higher up. And they've done that with, I'm scrolling quickly, sorry. They've done that with this page. So here it's like apply, engage. They've done that here, but they haven't done it with the landing page. So I would recommend putting, you know, it could be a bar here that has like apply to this, you know, degree program, something like that. But I think that this is the most important piece of content on this page. So I'd pull that higher up. Bernard, I can see you nodding. I don't know if you want to jump in on that as well.
No, I'm nodding because I'm just like, oh man, Crystal's just knocking it out of the park here. So yes, you're absolutely crushing it. I don't have much more to add than what you're saying.
Okay. 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 So then, in that case, the other one we were looking at was the blog. So one of the other pages that someone from this team submitted was the Fordham blog, and this is a subdomain. So this is news.law. I don't know if people can see that. I can zoom in a little bit. Oh no, you can't. Doesn't change it anyway. So it's news.law.fordham. That's fine. That can be optimized in a different way. And yeah, this had a UTM link from the other one. I've seen people do that. People have differing opinions on whether or not you should have UTMs on your internal links, but for large organizations, it can sometimes help you when you're arguing with analytics. So I understand the struggle is real. But what I also noticed that this doesn't seem to be optimized for some of the like basic SEO stuff. Now, with the title tags and the homepage and things like that, don't always necessarily like the title tag and the meta description tend not to be like huge deal breakers. Sometimes Google changes them, but particularly if you're trying to optimize it for something specific, it can be really helpful to help guide Google with the things that are priorities for you, and it can help point them in the right direction, at least start where they're thinking of qualifying you. So it would be worth saying like Fordham Law News, like Law University blog or something, and then just get something in there, because having nothing in there isn't really going to help you so much. Also, I think this is an image. Yeah. So if I am I able to select this? I think this is an image. Let me see. Rather than, yeah, so that's an image. And the guys, that's not helping you. Okay, so on this one, you want to make sure that this is that you have the words Fordham Law News written like in HTML, written as words. And the logo is lovely, it's beautiful or whatever, but and even if you keep that, I would write it somewhere else and make sure that it's the H1 on the page. So if I go here, there's no H1 on the page. We talked about Beyonce. I talk about Beyonce a lot, and the way I like to think of it is that is that the H1 is like the Beyonce of your page. Like there should only be one, and it should really be the star of the show. So make sure that you have that on your page. It's a really easy, really super quick win. Even if you don't like, you can just put that in the list for the dev queue. Even if you have to have a dev help you with that. So I would do that. The other thing that I was looking at on this particular one was that we have a lot of things that are about like team leadership. We have a lot of content that's around like law school news, about like alumni and stuff. If you're particularly talking to people and wanting people to be admitting to themselves to the school, to signing up to the school, then you might want to think about having some content that's around that, that's specifically around that. Now, for something like, for an organization like this, you're going to have lots of news that's coming through that's just kind of general kind of activity, right? That's like, a judge came along, an alumni was here, this person wrote a report, like this person was published, this person was featured, all that sort of stuff's going to go along. So what it might be worth doing is coming up with a content plan to maybe roll out like once a month something that is like, that's targeted for conversion, right? That's like, you should apply to this law, like, I don't know. People say they hate a listicle. I personally love a listicle. 17 reasons why you should apply to Fordham Law School, or like why your law degree still matters in 2025, or like something like that. But spend some time like making some content that is designed to convert, that you can mix in with some of this more sort of conversational thought leadership sort of content. And I think that would be quite useful. So yeah, from that perspective. Then the other thing that they were looking at was online law school. So they said that was one of the keywords that they were trying to look for. Now this is tricky because it's a university one. There's lots of subsites, there's lots of subfolders, there's lots of different projects that are working all the time. I think that you have to decide. So at the moment, you've got Fordham University School of Law, and they have onlinelaw.fordham.edu, which is different from the Fordham School of Law webpage. So I think if you want to optimize this page for online School of Law, then you have to negotiate how you're going to rank that next to this page. Because if I Google Fordham Law School, then what comes up on top is this one, right? It's onlinelaw.fordham.edu. That's what comes up on top. And so you can do like internal linking. to like bring the two together, and they've done that here, which is great. But you have to decide which one you expect to rank. So you shouldn't expect both to rank first, right? Because it's not possible for both of them to be number one. So you shouldn't expect one to rank first, but you should decide which pages should rank number one for which iterations and which variations and which user journeys of that sort of online law school user journey or that online the online law school query. So it might be that you have more of the sort of Q&A questions that are on the blog, and it might be that you have more of the sort of faculty things here, because I think this has the faculty listed along here, for instance. Yeah, so this is like your faculty collection is here. So it might be that you have the faculty for your online law school, you expect them to rank here, but then you have the conversion part on the onlinelaw.fordham.edu. It's tricky and it takes a lot to navigate. But I think that what I mean to TLDR it is you shouldn't expect both pages to rank for the same keyword, and you kind of have to pick which one is the main one. And so try to point everything for whatever keyword. Like let's say you want the online one to rank for online law school. Every time you have the phrase online law school on the Fordham Law School website, link it to that website. And every time you have, the other ones that are maybe supporting keywords, link them from the other one to the core law school website. It's tricky. It's very, very tricky. But it's worth spending some time. And if you spend that time on it and map it out, then you should see some good returns on it.
I think you're doing such a good job that everyone's just like, oh man, we're just here to listen.
I actually have two questions.
Okay.
So I was listening in, if I can ask them really quick. So first, Crystal, what Chrome extension were you using? Was that Marketing Syrup? Did I see that correctly? Or it's like,
so it's like, I use this all the time, SEO Pro. So yeah, it's SEO Pro Chrome extension by Marketing Syrup. It's by Christina Esrenko. It's super free. Like I use it all the time, and it tells you, and it's really useful for single pages. Like if somebody updates a page and you're like, okay, let's see if you updated it. You can just be like, what did you do? You didn't do the thing. Like this, and you can see all the H1s. You can extract them as well. This one, sometimes I have to update it. So yeah, sometimes you have to redo it. So it'll tell you your status code, etc. It'll tell you how many external links, internal links. This is also useful. You can do the screenshot. So like if you add links, or you can take a screenshot when somebody's like, oh, we just reskinned the page. Yeah, it's just a design. We just redesigned it. And I'm like, where are my links at? And they're like, no, like it's fine. It's just a different color. I'm like, it's not. I had 75 links before and now I have 40. What are you doing? Why are you trying to like make me crazy? And then also you can see like all the alt text. Well done, Fordham Law. You guys are crushing it on the alt text. So yeah, that's great. And then also you can see Schema. Highly recommend getting structured data on any page that is relevant for structured data. I love structured data. And there's going to be something that's going to be relevant for you. So for instance, if you have a law page, I'm sure there's something that is familiar that's relevant to that. And you could say, this is a university and this is the university course and this is like how much it costs and all of the sorts of things as well. If you don't know anything about structured data, I have a fantastic article on the Wix SEO Learning Hub, which will tell you all about it. So I can link you to that. What is structured data? I'm misspelling it, but it's fine. They'll fix it. They'll find me. This one. Yeah.
Wow, look at you.
Yeah, go to the website. So go to the website. I also have stuff about validating it and lots of things like I love it. I'm team structured data. So like go do that. It's super useful.
My other quick question was when you were talking through their news page, for the law school and how it had like a lot of like featured guest speakers and events that were going on. And you mentioned that having like more conversion content that would be more visible. I know in the past when I was doing SEO and content marketing for a company, we had one of our developers kind of like create that like sticky content like they have at the top, but it was like more conversion focused with like the, blog roll underneath.
Yeah.
And it looks like they kind of have that sticky content there.
Yeah, so they've got stuff that's, I think this seems to be, to me, this like, seems like the most recent one. So this is coming,
Okay.
this is like October 8th, October 3rd, October 1st, October 27th. So that's what that looks like. And that's to be honest, like the feed, like a current or like the most recent post feed is like I think that's a solid strategy for a lot of content, because like basically Google will crawl this page first. And it means that Google will be more likely to get the pages indexed for you straight away. And then once they're indexed, then they can rank and blah 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 blah. But what I've seen before is that people who have a lot of content that's coming through regularly, if they don't have a like latest post feed, then sometimes Google really struggles to find the content later on. So I'm not mad at this at all. I think this is like that perfectly makes sense. But they could balance this one with this as like the most recent feed. This panel on the side looks more static. It could arguably be some of that more sticky stuff. So it could be like, reasons why I chose Fordham Law School, or like, 17, top professors at Fordham Law School, or like why Fordham Law is this, and the other. But I think that kind of content, you don't want everything to be that, because the audience that you have there is fairly sophisticated, and they don't want to be like sold to. But sometimes when you're looking to buy, like sometimes you do want to be sold to a little bit. Sometimes you're like, but tell me the features. Like, I want to know how many cup holders this minivan has. Like, and sometimes you don't want to just like have the like lifestyle stuff. You want to get down to like the actual details. And so I think it's worth having some content that touches on that. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Thank you. And we have a couple of questions here coming up as well in the chat. So Sarah asks, do you use a tool for Schema, or do you add it manually by code? And it sounds like what you're saying earlier, Wix will do that for you, which is cool.
So I'll go through my things. What have I got? Okay, so benefits of student structured data. What's the difference? Okay, should you add structured data? Okay, so this one, so I use it in various different ways. I will use, if we want to talk schema, I could talk schema all day. Okay, so there was something called the rich results gallery, which they renamed it to something that doesn't make any sense. So I'm just going to look it up the way I always do. Okay, so structured data that Google markup that Google supports. Okay, so this website is from Google, and basically here they're telling you like all the things you need to know. So for each type of rich result feature that they have, they will tell you all of the details that you need to know about that. So for instance, like events, if you go to events, you click get started, and then it will tell you the structured data that's required for events. And as Amanda said, yes, we do have events built into structured data, or we have event structured data built into Wix. We also have blog structured data, product structured data, courses, discussions in forums, loads of stuff already built in. But sometimes you need to add things from scratch, and I've done that as well on Wix, and you can do that on Wix or on any other platform. And what this page does is it gives you examples of an event, for instance, and you can use this to sort of figure out what you need to do. And you can use it as an example of how to build out your structured data. What I like to do sometimes is, and I don't wonder if I can do a demo if people are game. Because like I was looking at this the other day, because there's all sorts of, hang on. There's all sorts of structured data. There's like 1,000 different types on schema.org. And if you use ChatGPT, for instance, you can go and you can say, can you list the variable fields that are required for this structured data. I misspelled it, but they'll figure it out. Okay. Okay, so I list that, and then it will give me the list of the things. And so I can take this list and I can make and then I can make it into like a table, right? Like a Google, like an Excel sheet, because that's essentially what structured data does. It takes your content and essentially makes it into like a spreadsheet. So so that they can meet it. So it tells you all of the different sections, all of the different things. You can make that into a spreadsheet. You can fill in the spreadsheet. Then you can go back and you can say, these are all of my unique pieces of data. Can you make me the structured data? So you can use that. We have tools within Wix to help you to do these things. So we have like 17 different types of variables, for instance, for your products. So when you enter your product, the product name is a variable that we store. So if you want to add in that variable into another field on your structured data, you can do that as well. And we have various different tools that help you do that. But yeah, structured data is super useful. If you had something that it helps you get rich results, and it also helps Google to understand what you're doing. I highly recommend having a look at the blog I was showing if you're completely new to it, because it talks through what's relevant and why it's relevant. And I also talk through like the validation process as well, and like why it's useful and all of those sorts of things. Is that cool?
There was one other question from Laura. What things would you look at when making sure the page is optimized for mobile? Or would they be relatively the same as what you've been reviewing for desktop?
Okay, so this is a good question. Okay, so if I go back to this page, so if you are using Chrome, you can right click and choose inspect, and first of all you can see what's different on the mobile version, and you can check various different iPhone sizes, iPhone settings, like different phones, etc., etc. Different iPads, etc., things like that. And you can go through and you can see what things look like. So that's the first port of call. And I would have a look at those elements. The other thing that's worth thinking about is like how clickable the page is. So what Google used to have their like mobile. I used to get an update sometimes, or a warning from Google, like elements too close to each other on mobile, and I'd be like, are you serious right now, Google? Like, I have other things to do, but they'd send it to you anyway. So it's worth having a look at those things. Page speed is something to consider as well. And I think also schema markup is really useful for mobile too. So what happens with schema is if I go to like let me just look at I think this is going to stay in the inspect. Are you going to do it? Yeah. Okay, so you notice on mobile that Google changes, right? Google has a different setup on mobile than it does on desktop. And rich results are optimized for mobile. They're really big buttons that are really easy to click. So if you make the content on your desktop site accessible with schema markup, with structured data for rich results, then you're optimizing it for mobile as well. So I think that that's really important to think about. I think also navigability is really important, because you have to think that like when people are mobile, they don't have time to scroll all the way down to the page. So one great thing they've done here is they've got that little jump back to the top button. They've got their burger menu, which is a great one as well. And also making sure that this menu is doing the most for you. So I've had clients before where like for instance, it was a recruitment client, and we had a burger menu. And what we were finding was that we had much lower conversion on mobile than we did on desktop. And one of the things that we did was on the mobile menu, we added an apply for a job button on the mobile menu. So for instance, instead of making people like click all the way through to admissions and click through to apply, they could go to they could just go to apply for school at Fordham Law, for instance. So there could just be one button that goes apply to Fordham Law. I think also, again, if we think about navigation, I'm just going to come out of this just a second. The way they've got their admissions currently is this is JD admissions, this is LLM admissions, this is MSL admissions. They might think of just having one admissions page. Great, which is there. So this is fantastic. This is really good, but they didn't have that on the mobile. That wasn't so easy to get to. So I would put a big old button to this page within the mobile menu, and I bet they'd see a lot more traffic from mobile for that. It's also worth having a look at how much traffic you're getting from mobile. So some websites, like e-commerce sites, are going to get tons and tons of traffic from mobile, particularly ones that are working a lot on Facebook or Instagram, or like those kinds of things are going to get a lot of traffic. So a lot of B2C verticals are going to get tons of traffic from mobile. Holiday vacation places are going to get tons of traffic from mobile. Tourist places like restaurants, cafes, they're going to get tons of traffic from mobile. However, if you're working in a B2B setting where most of the people that you're talking to are going to be on their desktop, they're going to have 7 tabs open, they're going to have 3 spreadsheets and a cup of coffee. Like, mobile's going to be a lower priority for you. It doesn't mean that you don't have it there, but just look at the pages that people are going to on mobile and prioritize those. Don't worry so much about doing every single page. But I would say, for a site like this, it's super big, and that a lot of people here are going to be people probably, I would guess, would be people on their desktop as well. I would prioritize the pages that are directed at mobile folks, and make those pages particularly mobile friendly. So if you, for instance, are doing a lot on LinkedIn, so I can see they've got 38,000 followers. And like, let's say on their LinkedIn, they're sharing a lot of this content. This content should be optimized for mobile, right? Because a lot of people are going to be coming from LinkedIn to this page. And if you think about, like, I was talking about this before the session, but I follow like Washington Post, for instance, on Instagram, and they share lots of stuff. They optimize both their Instagram and their web pages for that traffic, because they expect to be getting traffic from those things. You should similarly be expecting to get traffic from mobile. So for instance, like on mobile, this is taking up a lot of real estate. This one, maybe this could go a little lower. You could test that. That's another thing that's worth doing, is testing. On Wix, we have Microsoft Clarity as an app that's available to test your CRO and test whether or not you should move things up or move things down or things like that. But it might be worth thinking about, like, making this one a piece of text rather than the logo, and reducing some of that white space. So that you could bring more of this content up above the fold and show more of what's going on here. And then also, like, I'm not sure about this on mobile. I think if I was to do it mobile, I'd do it as a single column, because I think that's more confusing to read on mobile. And then other than that, I think that's pretty solid. Except for like standard SEO stuff, which is to break things up with H1s and H2s. So H1s and H2s are both an SEO element, they're an accessibility element. On mobile, they're really, really useful, because sometimes it's difficult to remember where you are on the page on mobile, but the bullet points will help you jump to things and help you, remember where you are and which section you need, and all those sorts of things as well.
This is good stuff. Okay, Bernard, do you have any thoughts on this one before we move on to the next one?
No, Crystal completely crushed it and demolished it.
Yeah.
The only other thing I can think of, and this is just how the SERP unfolds for law school NYC, is that there is like best lists. So it's a bit of a touchy subject, obviously, do you really want to have a 10 best NYC law schools on your own blog that, links out to or talks about your competitors? That's a definitely more of a brand and style guidelines that is, if that's not possible, that's not possible. But that would be the only other like content strategy, like approach that I could see when just inspecting the SERP.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting approach. So yeah, I think that content strategy, that sort of like meeting your competitors head on approach could be interesting. You know, do you want battle cards? Do you want like we're better than this school cards? Like, is that something to think about? Like why we're better than, I don't know, Columbia Law or something like that. It's like, well, we've got better trees. Our baristas are way better. Like, I don't know. Like that might be something to think about. Um, and also I think it also that to that point, people are looking around, like your customers are going to be looking around, so make sure that you are meeting that expectation, that you know that you've done that due diligence as well.
Yes, good stuff. We did receive some questions, but we're gonna hold those towards the end for like rapid fire because we have about like 15 minutes left. So I'd like to get through one more site if we can, even at like a high level. So we have like some things to like contrast and compare. And
Sure.
we'll leave like the last 5 minutes to maybe do like top tips rapid fire, like Bernard does. He's really good. And I'll do my best.
Yes. Amanda, can I jump in here and do as Crystal was auditing? I was auditing TurboDebt quite a bit, so I got some things to say.
Yes, go for it.
All right, let's do it. So yes, Crystal, if things pop up in your mind as I talk about this, definitely jump in and I will pause just to make sure that this is all coming together. All right, so TurboDebt submitted some stuff around debt relief programs, credit card debt relief programs, everything you need to know about debt relief, debt settlement, all of these different things. So the main question is for each of the head topics like debt settlement, debt relief, credit card debt, why aren't we ranking for the head terms? And so that itself is an interesting question. I would say that when I'm inspecting, the things that we need to look at are brand and domain like authority. I think we need to look at topical authority, and then I think we need to look at search intent to keyword like matching. So these are going to be the three things which this site does do well in some of them and not so well in others. So let's actually dive in and take a look at how we would look at each one of these. So first off, let's take a look at topical authority. How I would do this is I would take a look at site TurboDebt like this, and then I would actually do something like a in title like this, and then maybe like a credit card debt or credit card like this. We'll just go with credit card debt. So here, right, if I were to flip this, I'd see that there's about 25 results that the website talks about in relation to credit card debt. And we can see that what this is doing is that, give us all of the pages that are on the site where they, in the title, mention credit card debt. So you see all of these match like this. So all in all, right, 25 pieces against a topic of credit card debt isn't the worst, right? This is the whole hub and spoke, ranch style SEO, and it ought to be decent for something like that. Next up, we'll take a look at brand and domain authority specific to the search credit card debt like that. And you can see here that if I were to do this, I'll usually, toggle this on for now. You'll kind of see that, you have CBS as, rank number 1, and that's like overall like a 92. And essentially at this particular point, what I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to understand both brand and domain authority alongside search intent matching. So bear with me for just a second. If we do CBS, as you can see here, domain ranking of 92, then we can see that the overall intent that this is trying to like cover is how to qualify for debt forgiveness this October, like that. So we have a 92 that's basically kind of doing this, and this is more of a fresh, right, like sort of concern. Then you have Lending Tree, which is an 84 that is talking about statistics like this. So that belongs there. And then you have, the Federal Reserve Bank of New York household debt report. That is actually statistics as well. We'll just put this is an 85. Next to that, credit card debt, what to do if you cannot pay. This is probably our first actual informational piece of content, comes from Step Change, domain ranking of 82. And this is actually an article that's designed to serve, like what to do if you can't pay, like that. Then you have this thing, which is interesting, things to know. You have Wikipedia, just straight up 92, 96. This is an article. And this is just like, what is credit card debt, essentially, like that. You have then a video carousel, you have your discussion, so we'll just skip over those for now, although those can be generally used as well. You have then NerdWallet, how to pay it off. So this is, again, now another article, NerdWallet's a 90. You have 90, an article, and then you have how to pay off credit card debt, like that. Debt continues to rise. That's more of a freshness. August 26th from a domain ranking of 59. So perhaps the least authoritative that we've seen so far. Debt continues to rise, right? Different angle like this. And then you have CBS News again, which I think they were rank 1. Yes. So CBS News again at position 8. Will debt forgiveness 3 days ago. So again, another fresh concern again from CBS, which is a 92. And it's really talking about probably this thing that's happening, debt forgiveness in October or so, forgiveness news. I think that about wraps up the front page. So if we look at basically the SERP in terms of a brand and domain authority plus a search intent matching, you kind of see overall that there are basically, let's see, 1, news like related trends where you need to be about 59 at the least. You have 2 about statistics, and then you have 3 that are articles. So this is, I think, the way that the reasoning as to why I believe your site is not doing so hot. Because if you also look at this is something I've been doing a lot more of, where you can click on the 3 dots like this. And you can see here, right, Google will say, like, this is about this source, and they understand that CBS News is CBS News, and give you, some other statistics here. Basically, everything that falls into the top results lending tree, they all have a source. And if you actually like navigated through and tried to find the first result that showed up, if you might say, oh, Better Money Habit, that one's suspicious. It's like, well, it's actually part of Bank of America if you look a little bit closer. So basically, if you look at all of this, like everything is a legitimized source, like the FTC, the CNBC, and then of course, a lot of people are talking about like general like statistics. So when we then now go back to your specific piece of content, credit card debt, and we looked at what this is trying to do, you can kind of see the problem here. You're essentially competing for 1 spot in the top 10 results, which is against specifically Wikipedia on this idea that you should be more authoritative than Wikipedia on what is credit card debt. That's obviously very, very difficult to do. And so I think that if you wanted, and by the way, if you wanted to know, just for all the attendees here, what TurboDebt's domain ranking according to Ahrefs is, it comes out at a 41, like that. So essentially, you have a 41, and you're trying to compete against, 80s and 90s at the top level. And really the only entry point that I could see possibly for you, at least as you continue to build authority from a brand and domain perspective, is probably to tackle this particular intent, like the fresh intent. So that's how I would have, broken this out. Obviously, when I look at this particular piece of content, and I'm going really quickly because I know we're running up on time, I've become more of the curmudgeon around just blank like hero images. I feel like hero images, you're literally giving the best, like most important real estate of your content experience to something that says nothing. And that just kind of sucks in my opinion. Also, a lot of people do this where they put in statistics and, try to come off as authoritative. I've also been somewhat of a curmudgeon on this specifically. I think, again, right, just get into answering the core intent as quickly as possible. In this particular case, again, if we're just looking at the top 10 results, I think you would want to actually tackle statistics, what to do if you can't pay, and all of those different things. So again, if we go back to this and we take a look at the overall, let's actually make this like this. And we took a look at credit card statistics like this. You'll notice that I mean, you kind of have it, but it's not specifically credit card statistics, debt statistics. So this should likely be more credit card debt statistics like that. And then, yeah, what to do if you can't pay. Let's just see what to do if you can't pay, credit card like that. Getting out of debt. So yeah, you don't really quite have that either, right? And so how to pay off credit card debt. Let's just check this one real quick. How to pay off credit card debt. All right, let's see. All right, so you kind of have that. So anyways, then back to this approach, right? It's like, okay, well, clearly you talk a lot about credit card debt, but it does seem that you're both lacking in branded domain authority to qualify for the keywords that you want to rank for. And you're also sort of missing the mark on the overall search intent to what the user is expecting to consume for the SERP. All right. Crystal, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, so I think all of that is super super useful. One thing I would like to also point out is that
You want to share your screen?
Yeah, I'm just going to share. So I've worked in sectors like this before, and it's worth having a look. Like debt relief is something. If you're finding that you're doing all the content things and you're really struggling to get headway, it's worth checking out if you're a regulated sector. And you probably know that you're a regulated sector. Debt relief is something that's regulated, and Google has very tight policies on that. So if what you're seeing all the time is like government organizations, national debt relief, like things for that sort of thing showing up in the top of the SERP, it's probably that they're regulated. And it's worth checking the advertising policies for Google for those sorts of things. So they have specific requirements for certain things, like if you're selling alcohol, if you're selling like certain medical things, if you're selling anything that's regulated, Google will have specific ad policies which will give you guidance for the kinds of things they expect to see on your website, right? So if you were to advertise, they wouldn't let you advertise unless you had certain things that were required. So I had a look at this, and it says, you have to be one of these. So it tells you like all of the sorts of stuff. It tells you those things, and then the other thing that I noticed when I went through this was that it talked about their debt services policy. So I would read through that significantly as well. And this is a whole list of all of the ones where they have advertised personal loans, financial products, like all of the different things. So you can go through all of those and have a look at that. The other thing that it was saying, it was like, check if the location that you're targeting is eligible under this under this policy. Think about the location. So what I found was that if I looked up New York debt relief, for instance, I got a different SERP from when I looked up other debt relief. And the reason why is because regulation, right? The regulations vary by state. So if you're trying to sell to all of those places, like this is like debt relief near you, that's very general. But if you had like one per state, and actually they're pulling this through, they're probably getting more traffic on this than on some of the other ones, then you're gonna do better in that regard. Additionally, when I went to the bottom of their site, it says that they're accredited for here, but I think you should also be accredited for each specific state if you're talking about specific states as well. And I would also apply for this certification. Even if you're not planning to do loads of advertising, I would apply for it anyway. because it will put you through the ringer, and it will basically give you the guidance for the ads, which you should also bring into your general policy or your general content policy. So if there's stuff that you have to do in order to get your ads verified, then you should also do those things for your content, is what I would say. So I would apply for this. And then you can also add that as a certification on your website and do all of those things that Bernard was saying about.
That's fantastic. I didn't even know there was the whole application process for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty genius. Okay, so we have 1 minute left. But Crystal, if you have 2 minutes for us, if anyone wants to stick around for your like top final tips and takeaways. I know we do have a list of questions here. I will try to like provide materials or answer whatever I can in the roundup. But if you could highlight just maybe some of the practices that you're seeing as the most effective, or really what everyone should be doing, or things people should be letting go of in their strategies, what would your like top takeaways for the group today be?
I would say optimize for your traffic. Don't just optimize for like generally getting lots of traffic. Optimize for the traffic that is coming to you. The best advice I ever had years ago was like go through the doors that open, right? And so if you find that you're getting a lot of attention from social, optimize for the traffic that's coming from social. Optimize your website for that, and then that will help you build from there. And Google will follow. Google can see those social signals and things like that. But optimize for this audience, particularly if you're trying to grow those audiences. And you can also use those folks to help give you ideas for content that will rank on Google. You can they can give you ideas for other things as well. But I would say, particularly with the traffic that's moving around with various algorithms, et cetera, optimize first for the traffic that you're already getting and build from there.
That's good. Bernard, do you have anything to add? Are there any questions that or like anything else that we need to know from Crystal while we have our time?
No, I feel like Crystal absolutely crushed it, and
I know.
she covered everything well. So I don't have too much more. I just wish, we could have her keep auditing sites, but I mean, we are at the hour.
Yes, we're big fans of you at Clearscope, Crystal. So thank you for
Same.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your time with us today. Thank you for sharing all of your awesome wisdom. And yeah, everyone, I dropped her Twitter and LinkedIn links in the comments, so you should just go follow her to see what she's doing next. And she has a great slide deck out there. She just shared from Brighton, so check it out. Yeah, and we will see you all next time on the next Clearscope webinar.